December 16th, 2025. Washington State. It started with rain. Quiet, familiar, almost comforting. But beneath the streets of Tukwila, something was breaking. The Green River was rising. The levee was holding. Until it didn't. In seconds, water exploded into neighborhoods. Roads vanished. Cars floated. Homes filled from the ground up. Families ran through freezing floodwater with nothing but instinct and fear. No warning sirens, no second chances. This wasn't a storm, this was a failure. And once the river crossed the line, there was no stopping it. December 16th, 2025, Washington State. It didn't start with panic, it never does. It started with rain. The kind people here are used to. Gray skies, steady drops, wind brushing against windows. Commuters still drove to work. Shops opened. Life moved forward, unaware that the ground beneath it was already failing. For days, the rain refused to stop. Not heavy enough to feel dramatic, not violent enough to raise alarms, just constant, relentless, patient. Every hour, the soil drank more water. Rivers thickened. Drainage systems strained quietly, doing their job until they couldn't anymore. The Green River rose inch by inch, pressing against the levee that had held it back for decades. That levee was never meant for this. By the early hours of December 16th, the ground was saturated beyond capacity. Rain hammered rooftops through the night. Wind drove sheets of water sideways. The river surged faster, darker, heavier, carrying branches, debris, and the weight of everything upstream. Still, most people slept. Then came the sound. A low, deep crack, not thunder, not machinery, a failure. Some residents near Tukwila would later describe it as a roar, like the earth tearing open. Others heard nothing at all, only realizing something was wrong when cold water rushed across their floors. The Green River levee had breached. When it gave way, it didn't trickle. It exploded. Water surged forward with unstoppable force, spilling into neighborhoods, industrial zones, and roadways that were never meant to be rivers. Streets vanished in minutes. Cars stalled, then floated. Basements filled before doors could be opened. Garages became traps. Emergency lines lit up instantly. Calls poured in, water rising, people trapped, cars stuck, power out. Sirens cut through the rain as first responders rushed toward areas already disappearing under floodwater. Fire engines slowed through streets that no longer had visible lanes. Police vehicles stopped where water climbed too high to pass. Rescue teams switched to boats where roads had ceased to exist. In Tukwila, families fled homes with only what they could carry. Some waded through waist-deep water, holding children above the surface. Others climbed to second floors, waiting for help as freezing rain continued to fall. Streetlights reflected off moving water, turning entire neighborhoods into dark mirrors. The sound of rushing floodwater drowned out everything else. This wasn't a slow disaster. This was sudden displacement. Officials confirmed what many feared. The levee breach was active. The water was still coming. Evacuation orders were issued rapidly, spreading outward as flood zones expanded. Shelters opened under emergency protocols. Schools, community centers, and public buildings became safe havens for those who had nowhere else to go. Traffic collapsed. Major routes were shut down as water crossed highways and pooled beneath overpasses. Vehicles were abandoned mid-road, doors open, hazard lights blinking uselessly against the rain. Power crews cut electricity to flooded zones to prevent electrocution, plunging entire blocks into darkness. This wasn't just Tukwila. Nearby areas felt the impact almost immediately. Renton, industrial corridors along the river. Low-lying neighborhoods built under the assumption that the levee would always hold. It didn't. Emergency managers warned that this was a flash flood driven by structural failure, not just rainfall. That made it unpredictable. We're only beginning, but officials warned recovery would take time. Mud, contamination, and structural damage would remain long after the water receded. For families displaced overnight, life had already changed. Homes weren't just damaged, they were violated by water that doesn't care about ownership, memories, or history. Photos and videos spread quickly. Aerial views showed brown water cutting through familiar neighborhoods. Social media filled with clips of rushing currents, flooded streets, and emergency rescues unfolding in real time. For those watching from outside Washington, it looked shocking. For those inside it, it felt unreal. And the rain forecast offered no immediate relief. Authorities warned that even after waters begin to fall, danger remains. Roads undermined, foundations weakened, electrical hazards hidden beneath standing water. The risk doesn't end when the rain stops. It lingers. December 16, 2025 will be remembered in Tukwila not for how loud it was, but for how fast everything changed, how a quiet river became an invading force, how normal routines collapsed under rising water. This flood didn't announce itself with a scream, it arrived with patience, and when the levee failed, there was no negotiation. As emergency crews continue working, one truth remains undeniable. Disasters don't always look dramatic at first. Sometimes they arrive disguised as routine weather, waiting for the moment when resistance finally breaks. The Green River crossed that line. And tonight, Washington is reminded that nature doesn't need permission. It only needs pressure.